Hello, welcome to the Childfree International Part 1 panel. I'm Cody Hetzel,
And I am Lenora Faye.
and we'll be your moderators today.
Childfree has no borders. It's a global experience. This panel is going to explore the unique insights and challenges faced by child-free individuals worldwide.
So let's meet the panelists. Hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi,
All right.
everyone.
Hey, we'll take a few moments and let you guys introduce yourselves. Daphne, we'll start with you and work our way down in the round.
All right. Hi, Cody. Hi, Lenora. I hope that everyone's well this morning or wherever time zone they're all in. So I am Daphne Romero. I'm 25 years old. Actually, it's my second time here at the Child Free Convention. So last year was my first time, and this year I'm so happy that I'm going to be part of this wonderful event, the Child Free Convention 2023. So what else can I share? I'm both a government employee and a law student. I'm currently a third year law student. So hopefully a lawyer, child free advocate will be a part of the child free convention soon. So there.
Hello. Um, my name is Monique Obligacion. I am 35 years old, turning 36 this year. I'm a creative project manager and I design websites for a living. For fulfillment, on the other hand, I am an environmental educator. So I run some of the largest online communities in my country. I'm from the Philippines. Um, so I run communities for zero waste, sustainability, and low impact living. And I do talks about zero waste for schools, companies, um, and the talks are mostly centered around the practice of zero waste or composting or urban farming and stuff like that. So I have been practicing and teaching zero waste since 2016, and my partner and I grow food on the roof deck of our building, and we live in a house that does not have any trash cans.
That's different. All right, Tina.
Hi, my name is Tina Santiago. I'm also originally from the Philippines. I'm 45 years old. I'm actually currently in Canada. I'm on an immigration journey. And before actually moving here, so that's why I'm in transition right now. But actually, I've made my career in providing and in helping provide large scale interventions of climate change in Asia and the Pacific.
Cool.
All right, Vivian. Last but not least.
Quite, yeah. Hi, so I'm Vivian, and I am calling in from London, England. I'm 52 years old, and I'm a life stage life coach. And I would say that I had a career change about 4 years ago to become a life coach. And I would say that I'm glad I became a life coach later in life, because my experiences really lend themselves to helping my clients. Outside of being a life coach, I absolutely love swimming, and I pretty much do that about 3 times a week. And I also take part in crazy swimming events, things like swimming 24 hours, 12 miles, 24 hours, that sort of thing, just for fun.
Our next virtual convention is going to be underwater.
Excellent.
I'm kidding.
I don't swim at all. So
I'm gonna need a new moderator.
I have a scuba diver's license, so it works for me.
Very cool.
I think we're onto something. So tell us what your child-free journey has been like. When did you know you wanted to be child-free? Did you tell anybody? What was your response? Daphne, we'll start with you.
Okay, I knew I don't want to have kids since I was around 17 years old. So the idea came when I studied at an all-female school in college, where my professors instilled in us that we all have choices and there's no such thing as norm. So yeah, that's when I realized that I didn't want to have I don't want to have kids. In terms of my journey, let's start with myself. So far it's great because I get to know more why I really don't want to have kids. Primarily because of environment reasons, and second, the one that I mentioned earlier, which is um, I learned from my professors that there's no such thing as norm. So yeah, it's my personal choice that I don't want to have kids. So, and then the more I age, the more I realize that I really want to live a child free lifestyle. And in terms of my relationship with others, so the reception of the idea of me not wanting to have kids still needs to improve. So I think around 6 years ago, I told my parents that I want to have kids. I got the same reaction from my friends and colleagues that I'm gonna change they said that I'm gonna change my mind because I'm still young, or maybe I haven't met the right person yet, or I haven't found the right person yet. But the thing is, I don't even want to get married also. And so yeah, what I think now is that the reception to I want to have kids in the future, or people, other people are saying that I want to have kids in the future, should be similar to the I don't want to have kids, or I mean the reception of the people of when people say I want to have kids in the future should be similar to I don't want to have kids in the future, which is right now I see that it should be accepting, loving, and more appreciated by many people.
That's the dream.
That's a
we,
dream,
can- we can
right?
hope. We can hope.
Monique, go ahead.
Okay, my turn. I'm not really sure when exactly I became child free, or if I was always just child free. Because when I was a kid, um, whenever I played with dolls, I played more with like Barbie dolls and Polly Pocket and like Lego. Um, but I didn't really get into the whole baby doll thing. I found it really boring and maybe even annoying. It's like it's crying. What do I do? Um, so that was me as a kid. Um, I I read a lot, and I wasn't very. I guess I wasn't very like friendly with kids my age as well. I would just keep to myself and read books. And then by the time I got to college, there was one time I think I got into an argument with my mom, and she said something like, "You'll know what it's like when you have children of your own." And I'm like, "I don't have to." And she just kind of like, you know, took a step back and was like, "Yeah." But I guess compared to other people, I haven't really had much pushback. Um, I mean, a lot of people would ask me things like, like when are you gonna have kids? Why do you not want to have kids? And I don't know. In I guess my response is more like, what for? And then I throw the question back like to them, and they're like now like struggling to give me a reason, and nobody's ever given me a good enough reason. So um,
That's
there, I did. So I kind of wound up one time posting something on Facebook. This was in 2020. So, because here in the Philippines, there's actually a government sector that does vasectomies and gives out like free birth control and contraceptives and whatnot. It's called Popcom. Um, and in 2020, they had this vasectomy run. Sorry, I'm going into like a story, but there was a vasectomy run, and like my partner and I were like, hey, it's free vasectomies, like 100% free, no scalpel, non-invasive vasectomies. And he was like, I wanna, and I was like sure. So, so he got the vasectomy, And then that same day, I made a post about it, and it was International Men's Day. I remember this very clearly. I think it was November 17, 2020. And then that post on social media blew up and had like thousands and thousands and thousands of reactions and comments. Basically, it was me talking about like our decision to be child free, and like I was happy that that he was stepping up and getting a vasectomy and whatnot, and we got like hate from all over the world. But at
Wow.
the same time, yeah, there were people like sending hate messages to like our inboxes, like even like months after, because the post was still up. But at the same time, we kept the post up and kind of endured the bullying, because also, um, on the other hand, I mean, there were a lot of people who came out of the woodwork and then realized, hey, you know what? Yeah, like I think you make a good point. I talk mostly about like, the environmental impact of having a child, where you get 56.8 metric tons of carbon equivalent emissions for every child that gets added onto the planet and then will consume resources. And at the same time, no child is ever born for reasons that prioritize that child. So I feel like I don't want to subject my child to this kind of planet, very resource scarce and whatnot. And then you can just imagine what kind of chaos ensued, because like a lot of people were saying that like I was being nasty to parents. I wasn't. I was just exercising my I was just saying my opinion, and I was trying to get more people to like be aware that, hey, there are contraceptives available here and here, and like there's this government program that does like tubal ligations and vasectomies and whatnot. But they only do ligations for people who've already had kids. So unfortunately, child-free females can't get ligated. So there.
I, sorry, I think we're just gonna move on to Tina, and then we'll do our second round.
I've got a question to circle back to that later if we get to it. But yeah,
Okay.
that's yeah.
It's
Yeah,
super fascinating.
I'll stop there.
All right, Tina, go ahead.
Yeah, no, for me, I guess I started thinking about like whether I should have kids or why do people even have kids like when I was 9. And then so it's just been like something I really thought about until I got into early adulthood. But I really made the child-free decision like 23 years ago. It was actually during a pregnancy scare when I realized, oh, like no, like like before maybe I was like kind of confused, but like at the time when I was like I had a pregnancy scare, I was like, oh my gosh, like no. And but that's when I made the decision. But then I kind of still felt like I guess my biological clock was ticking during my 20s. Also, I felt like everything was like I guess I felt like everybody trying to like the experience of the other people in the panel, like people telling you that you're gonna change your mind, and like it kind of feels like a microaggression, I guess, because like I know my mind, and but also at the same time thinking like I'm only in my 20s, like what do I really know? So I was also like thinking, oh, am I making the right decision? But then like I hit my like literally 30, and then I was like never thought about it again. And yeah, I just surrounded myself with other child-free folks, and it's been a nice good journey for me.
That's awesome. Vivian, go ahead. We just have to unmute. There we go.
Hi. Yeah, I'd say that our upbringings play a part, I think. And thinking about like my childhood sort of ages like 1 to 10, I can't even remember thinking, oh yeah, I'm definitely going to have kids. But obviously played with dolls and all the rest of it. Then when I got into my first major relationship, long-term relationship, I think, I don't know, 17, 18 or something. I think my boyfriend and I at the time were like, yeah, when we get married, we'll have kids. But it was, I think I felt like that was just something that we said. And I always thought, well, I probably won't marry him, but I might have kids. But then, you know, he and I didn't last. And then I think it was in my early 20s, I just thought, I just never felt that urge to have them. And then I got married and still didn't have that urge. And then I remember once my husband saying, you know, maybe we should have that chat, that serious chat about do we or don't we want babies or children. And I thought, oh God, I really hope he thinks the same as me. I pretty much knew he did, but I thought, gosh, if we're going to have like a serious chat, what are we going to do if actually one of us decides that we want kids? Anyway, it turned out both of us were on the same page, so it was absolutely fine. And I think there was a time in my early 30s, I felt broody. It didn't last for long. I had no idea that it was a real feeling. But yeah, again, I thought, well, this feeling is annoying because actually I don't want kids. In telling people, I don't specifically remember ever announcing it. I do, I remember my dad saying, oh, but it would be nice if you had kids. And I thought, yeah, for like 5 minutes of my time, it might be nice, but I'm just not, I have godchildren, I have nephews, and I love spending time with them, and I love my friends' kids, but it's just not for me. So there has been, I can't say like a backlash, but there have been people that are like, you'll regret it, you'll change your mind, or, you get the sort of pitying looks from people. But I just think, this is my choice, and you having kids is your choice.
Yeah. Monique, when you said there was a run for vasectomies, I thought it was literally like a 5K or a marathon, and people were like running, and it's up in the building, and there you go. Like, not only do you go through the ribbon, they also cut other things. Anyway,
can we just let the audience know, feel free to ask the panel questions. You guys can put any questions you have in the chat, and we'll pull them up for the speakers if you want a collective answer, if you want a specific answer, or more information on the vasectomy run. just put Q or a question, so we know it's a question that you want us to ask the panelists. All right, Cody, what do you have for us next?
All right. So, as a child-free person, can you be open about your decision where you live, and are you open about your decision? Daphne, we'll just keep the same round going.
Yes. Definitely I'm truly open about it. Whenever people ask me, my friends, colleagues, I would always say, or I always tell them that I don't want to have kids. I want to live a child-free lifestyle. Because one, in order to put it out there that not all people want to have kids. Second, to enlighten people who are curious about the child-free lifestyle. And third is to make things lighter for the next generation who want to live a child-free lifestyle. So yeah, those are basically the three reasons why I am open about my decision not to have kids in the future.
Yeah, that third one's super important. The more we talk about it, the more it
Right?
becomes normalized, and people
Mm-hmm.
become more comfortable in the conversation. Oh, incoming question. Awesome. All right. Let's see. Question: is in quotations, the biological clock a real thing or a societal constructed mindset? And it looks like, Vivian, you want to answer this one first?
Yeah, it's a great question, and something until it actually happened, I felt like I suppose I equate biological clock to sort of feeling broody. I realize there is a difference. I do think it's a real thing. I don't think it's socially constructed. I think it's kind of taken out of its true context. But I think like biological clock to me is what perhaps doctors, medical people would see as the perfect time to have kids. But as we know, there are now, as in a natural perfect time to have kids. But as we now know, there's IVF, women are having kids later. And of course, there are things like surrogacy and adoption. So yes, I think it is a real thing, but I'm not, I think, socially constructed. I think we use it in social terms, you know, in reading articles, whatever. But yeah, I think it's real.
Okay. Anybody else want to?
I have a different answer.
Sure.
Well, not super duper different, but I think it's a social construct in that it's really just okay. I think that's what people call like whenever women have like baby fever, which is caused by like hormones. And from having discussions with other child-free people, um, I learned that for some people it's real, like they get they get all like hormony and they gush when they see like babies and stuff, even child-free people, but like it's a biological thing or like a response. Whereas there are other people as well who have never ever like felt this stuff. Like I'm one of those. Like I've never had the like this urge to be like a mom or like pass strollers and think like, oh, babies. But apparently it's real, the hormone thing. And I think people just generalized this and thought that like if it's a thing for me and I have this clock that I literally feel like my body wants to produce a baby, therefore it must be true for everybody else. But it's not the case. So there, that's my
So
answer.
I think we got both sides of the coin there. That worked out really well. So let's just continue with the original thought, which is, can you be open where you live, and are you open where you live? And I think Monique, we're on you.
Very. I'm very, very open. Too open, in fact, that like it's like viral, and like I've spoken about my child-free life with my partner Rocco on national television several different times. I've been interviewed by magazines, news articles, or rather newspapers about like our decision to not add to the population, not procreate. But yeah, like super duper open. Like I get DMs from like total strangers asking for information on like those free vasectomies, and we have gotten the National Commission on Population's Facebook page from having something like 800 likes to having like thousands of likes, and many people have gotten vasectomies because of the reach that we got.
Okay, and they didn't have to run a 5K for it. That's awesome. Tina, how about you?
Oh, for me, it was always very like I never tried to hide it. Like it was always something. Like I said, I started thinking about it when I was 9, and I guess even then I already started like talking about it with other people. But like I found like since it was like 23 years ago when I decided this, I don't think like people at the time really understood what I was saying. Like I mean like even I don't know like I've always been like yeah, child free and stuff, but I think people really don't hear things that are not already in their echo chambers. So yeah, I mean, I guess it was all, I mean, it was way into my 30s when people realized that I was serious about not having kids.
Okay, and Vivian.
Yeah, it's I live in London. It's a very cosmopolitan city, and it's easy to be child free and to say that you don't want children. I would say that I think if you come from a very religious background, if your culture is very different, I think it would be more difficult to freely admit it. I think that I guess if you mix in the circles that you feel very safe and comfortable in sharing, that you want to be child free, then it becomes the norm. I don't, I'm 52, so I don't feel the need to announce that I'm child free. And to be honest, I don't think I did even, 20 odd years ago. I think I found it odd it was expected, 20 years ago for people to say, do you have kids? And I'd be like, no. And then of course it's like, oh, you'll probably have them. And then it's like, no. But I didn't feel a pressure or like, oh, I shouldn't tell them that I'm child free. It was just like, yeah, I'm not having kids, and I guess I'm confident enough to sort of argue my corner if someone has ever been sort of not nasty, but like, oh, you will, oh, why don't you? I would have enough reasons to say something back to them. But yeah, it's where I am, it's not an issue.
Okay, thanks for sharing.
I will say though, I would recommend saying at 52 you are child free and happy, because that gives so many of us hope. I mean, I'm in my 40s now, but it's an exciting thing. So I mean, I have no problem with you going around saying I'm 52 and I've never had kids.
Yeah, actually, I might get a T-shirt with that. That's what I'll do.
Cody,
I know a place you can get those.
Okay.
So we have another great question in the audience, but we're going to hold off on that just for a second. The next question is, and this is a big question that people always want to talk about, is what has dating been like as a child-free person? We'll start with Cody. No, I'm kidding. Daphne.
I'm married, so I don't have to worry about this anymore.
Well, there's a backstory probably, though. All right, Daphne, go ahead.
Okay. Apparently for me, I don't exactly date, but I talk to people. I love getting peculiar ideas and weird facts from them, but at the same time learning about how they see the world, which is maybe different from how I see the world or how I see and experience the world. So in terms of that, I share with them that I don't want to have kids as well, and it's the same reception, or yeah, it's the same reception I get when I tell it to my friends. They say that I'm gonna change my mind, but when days go by, I feel like the people around me, I mean, not only the people I talk to, but also my friends, my colleagues, even my family. I feel like they just let me be. I mean they should, because it's my decision. This is my decision. And even though they just keep telling me that I'm gonna change my mind, I see in them that they're also trying to understand me and accept my decision to have a child-free lifestyle.
Thank you. Monique, go ahead. Even though you've really given us like a solid answer on this question already, but you can recap.
No, dating. Well, I've been in a long-term, currently monogamous relationship um, with my partner for the past 10 years. So I haven't really been dating. But prior to that, like I've dated people where there was at one point in time, like I loved the person really loved me, but then they wanted kids, and I was like, oh gosh, whoops, nope. And just one quick, very quick story about that is that one time I passed him on the street, like years later, my ex, and he was walking his kid, I think, to school or something. I didn't even know he was in that city, in the same city as me. And then he looked so old, and I was like, man, I dodged a bullet. I was like, I'm happy I didn't have kids, with this guy or anyone at all. I'm that's it.
Not that being child-free is the fountain of youth, but
I feel like we need, for a halftime show next year, we have to do like a dating confessional panel where what happens when you run into your ex on the street and they have had children or whatever. I'll start making notes. Tina, go ahead.
The funny thing was, like, so I said I decided to be child free 22 years ago. The difficult thing about making that decision was the realization for me at the time that I was not going to find a partner in the Philippines, like, who would also be child free, who wouldn't be so patriarchal, because, like, I'm a Gen Xer, and like I came up from a different like, I'm so happy, like, I'm part of the child free Philippines group, and like it's one of the least toxic child free groups that I'm in, and like I'm so happy that some of, like, a lot of the the folks in the group are actually partnered, because like that's really good. Like when I made the decision to be child free, I knew that I was also making the decision to be single when I did that. And so like yeah, it hasn't been for me, because like everything is a social construct, including like wanting like having kids, like nuclear families. So for me, like unconventional relationships are more my thing, just I guess because of my age also. Like age appropriate guys for me still like think in normal heteronormative style, styles of relationships, where like that's so weird. So for me, so yeah.
And you said, and you're in Canada currently, right? You said?
Yes, I'm in
Okay.
Canada.
Whereabouts? I'm in Alberta. I'm out west.
I'm in BC.
Oh, okay. So we're neighbors. All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk after.
Okay.
Because I kind of know that area. So all right, we'll talk after. And I also want to ask you, what do you consider like age appropriate? But anyway, we got to get to Vivian. So Vivian, go ahead.
Okay, so I've been married for 24 years. So the last time I dated was a long time ago. So I'm happily married, 52, and happily child-free. But I don't even feel like the word child-free existed when I was dating. I think it was like, you're having kids, you're not having kids. And it wasn't, I don't remember it being an issue. Friends who are dating now, who are younger than me, they do think, oh God, what if the guy has kids? Because I don't want kids. So that can be an issue for some. Or it can be for the guy's point of view. They're like, yeah, I'm dating later in life, but what if my girl, what if the woman I'm dating wants kids? Because I don't think I do, and that's going to be an issue. So I think for me, wasn't an issue. I think if I'd met someone and they did want children, I think I would have made a swift exit and just said not for me. But I do kind of feel like when guys are kind of worried about women who are in their 30s, they automatically assume they want kids. And I think, why automatically assume? You're mixing in the wrong group, or not you're mixing in the wrong groups, but I just find it odd that it's an assumption still that women want children. And yet we never make it an assumption that men do want kids. We make it an assumption that they don't. So I think that's, it's almost like they're sort of magnets, or like opposing one another or something. It's odd. But yeah, what I would say is that I'm glad I don't date.
If only we had a panel of child-free men to ask that question.
Yeah.
We
do. That's later on today, right? Okay. So we have an incoming question. Have you faced difficulty finding a local child-free community in your respective countries? Daphne, do you want to start with that?
Here in the Philippines, I think I haven't tried to find a child-free local community. But I think Monique and Tessa, we can start it on child-free, a local child-free community, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, because here in the Philippines they're not really that supportive of the idea, but hopefully soon. Yeah.
All right, it starts here.
Yeah, exactly. Monique?
Actually, there are child-free communities that exist here in the Philippines, but I mean, like, it's also, I think the group that we're in is something like the second or the third group, because there was a lot of drama from like the previous group. And yeah, like it's weird. Like, it was difficult in the beginning, and these groups only started popping up maybe in 2019 or something. Yeah, and then now that it's up, sorry.
Oh no! I was gonna ask what your cat's name is.
By the way, guys, this is a live event. If you're watching the replay a month or a year from now and listening to this in podcast form, no bomb went off. It was just Kat.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. um, sorry, where was I?
Well, no, you brought up a good point about a lot of groups being relatively new, and that's kind of the fun stage that we're in with like the current child-free life cycle of like social media, is that people are just now discovering that that's an actual term for the lifestyle that they're living, and they're searching that term and they're finding whatever social media platform they're in, they're finding groups, and there's new groups always forming. And then those groups go through growing pains of, it's like, well, what kind of topics do we allow? What kind of images do we allow? That kind of thing. What kind of members do we allow? Like, can people who are quote unquote fence sitters that are undecided if they want to be child free or parents, do we let them in the group, so forth and so on. So yeah, I can see, like you said, there's usually a little bit of a drama and a rift that happens in some groups when they first start up, and it usually equals and levels itself out once the admins kind of find their grounding of what kind of group they want to have. But yeah, thanks for sharing that.
Tina, go ahead.
Yeah, during my time, yeah, 20 odd years ago, there were no groups, and it was difficult at the time. That's why I really am like happy to be part of this conversation, is because yeah, I want to be able to let other women know, like in the Philippines at least, even if you're in your 20s and people are telling you you'll change your mind or like you're gonna regret it, I live like a really happy life. I'm so happy with being single, with being child free. I wouldn't have been able to do all the things that I needed to do or wanted to do in my life so far, and continue to do that if if I had all of these baggage. So, yeah.
So I've not looked to or seek out a child-free community. It was only recently that it was brought to my attention that they do exist, and I found it kind of an odd concept, because I was like, well, don't you just have friends that don't have kids? But I realized that I think perhaps my generation and those older than me, we've just sort of found a way, found our community, found our tribe, whatever you want to label it, that I have friends with kids, I have friends without kids. But it's not like I keep them separate, but obviously, I see them literally physically meeting them differently, depending on whether they've got kids or whether they don't. But I feel that, reading articles and talking to people and in this sort of environment, that those women and men, but younger than me, who have stated that they're child free, or, have chosen that they need to find a specific community so that they feel fully supported in their decision. I think, I've always felt confident in my decision. But I'm wondering whether, younger people are not feeling that confident about it, and therefore they want a community, which, if you can find a community, then that's great. But I found it quite interesting and a bit like, oh, wow, people are actually making communities that are specifically child-free. But then I guess it's like, why would I go to a mum and baby club just to make new friends? That would probably seem really quite odd now I've said that out loud. But, you get, you sort of get what I'm saying. It's like, I realize that perhaps some people do need literally their own community where they aren't going to be questioned or doubted or looked down on.
Yeah.
We have another audience question. I think we should bring up Jason and Tracy in the audience. Rebecca?
There we go. Question.
Oh,
do you think there is a different vibe between saying I'm child free versus I don't have kids? Who wants to take that one on?
Yeah. I do. I feel like child free is the universal modern term. And I feel the connotation is that you have made the choice. I think if you say, I don't have kids, then it leaves it open for the other person to wonder, oh, does that mean that they couldn't have them? Does that mean that their partner didn't want them to have them? Has something happened as to why they can't have them? So I think child free is you know, it's bookended. It's like, I'm child free, pretty much, you know, that's my choice. But when you say I don't have kids, there's a bit more ambiguity with it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Does anybody else have anything to add on to that?
I guess just to add to that, whenever people ask me, you know, or say something like that, I don't have kids versus child free, like why do you have to say that you're child free? I always make this distinction that like being child free is different from being childless. I know it's a very recent term that's only come up, you know, in the past few years, but I feel like being able to put a definition to this term kind of helps, and it makes things normal. It's saying that like it's not that I can't have kids, it's that I won't have them. So like if people are childless, or like when you say like I don't have kids, it's like it could be like I don't have kids yet, I don't have kids because similar to what um, was said earlier, but also I don't know, like the reception is different. Like if you just say I don't have kids, everybody just assumes that you don't have kids yet. But if you say I'm child free, all of a sudden I'm like the devil, or like I'm a child hater or something, which I never was. Like I don't hate kids. I just don't want have I just don't want to have any of my own. I don't want to birth any. And there's nothing strange about that. It should be as normal as people saying I want kids, or like I'm a mom. There.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it's important to have these conversations, just to kind of get the term child free out there. Because in a lot of places in the world, the word child free doesn't exist in their language. So like they may call it something different. So trying to just get the word out of what child free kind of is and means. And you brought up a great point. It is different than childless. And when you say you're child free to some people, they might just go ahead and think, oh, they're childless. Like they're going to plan on having kids. They're just child free right now kind of scenario. They don't know that it's a lifestyle that you've opted into, and you've chosen to not have kids now or into the future. So great question. Let's think about it. It maybe didn't affect you maybe personally, but in your work life, or maybe someone else's work life, how does being child free affect that, or how does the work life balance look being child free? So Daphne, we'll start with you.
Yes, I say that being child free or having a child free lifestyle works in my favor because I give I give more energy and my time to my family, my school, my work, and improving my overall life in general. So I love the idea that I can do whatever I want, as you know, as long as I'm not hurting anyone, and yeah, it also gives me more time, spending more time with myself over a cup of coffee, you know, me, myself, and I, or enjoying a newly released series on Netflix. So yeah, basically that's how I go on with my life as a child free, as you know, having a child free lifestyle. Yeah.
All right, Monique.
How has it affected my work life? Well, I've always been child free, so I can't really compare what my life would be like, you know, with kids. But I can't imagine what it would be like with kids, and it's probably not the kind of life I want. Um, Work life, well, I'm a bit more mobile. Like I can work from wherever because I work from home. I just need an internet connection, and that's fine. But to answer this with a different context, work life, uh,
Sorry,
how
I'll just,
sometimes
can
have the
I interrupt?
hiccups.
I just want to interrupt just to clarify the question. How are you received as a child-free person in the workplace? That might be a little more clarification in the
Yeah.
question. Like, do you work with parents? Like that's really what the question is more focused on, just to clarify.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I was actually going to answer
Okay.
that question. In the past, I've had to cover for parents, you know, taking emergency leaves and stuff, and that I'm left with more work, or like they get priority when it comes to like picking up, um, vacation leaves, and then like it it's just automatically like my burden, that like since I don't have kids, I'm free to work on certain dates and they aren't. But then my life is just as important. I mean, like what, I don't know. There, that's let's keep it short.
So make
Yeah,
note, HR managers.
I didn't have any like negative experience about being child free and in the workplace. Like I work I worked in international development in a very multicultural environment where like, we were working more on the cause, I guess, and not really thinking about stuff like this. Um, yeah, so it hasn't really affected me negatively. Like being child free has only affected my life positively in every way.
Awesome. Vivian.
So I'm self-employed, so it doesn't affect me.
Your problems are your own.
Yeah, exactly. However, I do remember when I was working in offices that it always seemed that the companies made allowances, if that's the right word. It would be like, oh, well, so and so and so and so, they definitely have to have that holiday time off because they have kids, or oh, they're allowed time off to go and see their kids in a play. Or it would always be like, oh, so and so's kids, it's their birthday, let's go and buy the kids a present. And I'd be thinking, well, hang on, what about those of us that don't have kids? What benefits are we getting? I've never been asked to cover someone else's workload because they're a parent and for whatever reason they can't be there. But I imagine, well, if you work for a decent company nowadays, that that it's probably, those that are child free probably have good benefits as much as those that are parents. But I was thinking that, with me being self-employed, a plus side of not having kids is that I can work whatever hours I feel like. And I'm not sort of, my working day is not worked around, kids, picking them up, dropping them off, whatever it is at school and everything else that entails. But that's not something I really have to ever think about.
Yeah.
So we have another question from the audience.
Loving the questions, guys.
Yes. Okay, I'm gonna pull this one up unless we both do it.
All right, no, go for it.
We
You
just
do it.
canceled each other out. I'll do it. No, it's done. All right. So I'm curious if anyone has encountered the assumption that you must be infertile or having problems conceiving because you don't have children. So, all right, Vivian, you raised your hand first.
Yeah. So, yeah, there have been lots of assumptions made as to why I don't want kids. Someone assumed that my husband was bullying me into not having them, which I was just dumbfounded because I just thought, what an incredibly rude thing to say, because you're pretty much saying that my husband isn't a nice guy. I just found that astounding. Also, that in 1999, I was involved in a serious car crash. Everyone was fine, but I fractured my pelvis, and someone assumed that because of the accident, I couldn't have kids. And I thought, well, if that was the case, that's not a secret. So why wouldn't I be saying that? And of course, it isn't the case. And yeah, it's like, no one's ever asked me about fertility. I can't remember what the other thing was, but assumptions are always made, and I find it baffling. But on the flip side is, I don't actually want everyone asking me, why don't you want to have kids? Because it's not your business. But also, the other thing is, if I do say, oh, the reason is because I just don't fancy it, I just don't want to, they don't believe that that's a big enough answer, which annoys me equally.
Yeah, I mean, it's like if someone's like, "Well, why do you want to have kids?" Well, my wife and I like to juggle knives to each other in our house, and it's not the best environment to have. I mean, there's
Yeah.
tons of reasons.
Really? I didn't know that. Okay.
No, no, no. Anybody else want to answer that question?
I haven't encountered it like from a person actually telling me, but when we had that viral post um, go around the web, um, a lot of people typed up in the comments that, like maybe I was incapable of having children, I was infertile, and we were just coping, um, or that my partner got a vasectomy so that he could like fool around and not get anyone pregnant behind my back. It's just really mean stuff. Uh, but yeah, I agree with Vivian. There's just like tons of assumptions.
Yeah.
I don't know, like if it feels like they can't grasp this mentality that like I don't like what you like. I mean, I'm a different person. I don't want your life. So there, it's like if they just can't like wrap their heads around it. Like, how can you not want kids? I'm like, I just don't.
Yeah. Whenever I meet someone that doesn't know me and my background and my wife's background or whatever, it's like, well, do you guys have kids? I say, no, I'm child free, and then I immediately follow up and say, we don't want kids, and that usually it gives them the definition of what child free is. Hopefully, if they didn't already know it, and they kind of know our stance and standpoint. And I'm not usually asked a follow up question, so that's just how it goes for me.
I wonder if they're not asking you a follow-up question because you're male.
That's probably the go-to.
Yeah.
We as men in the child free world, we aren't as I guess drilled down on the questioning of why not, like what's wrong, that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. They don't want to challenge our fragile male ego and see if there's something wrong. Who knows? I don't know. But anybody else want to answer that question? We can move on to the next. We got a quick question to maybe knock out here. So from a cultural perspective, if we can answer this in a minute or less for each of you, how is the choice to not have a child received? And Daphne, we'll start with you.
Okay. So yeah. It still needs to be improved, of course. So from where I am, which is the Philippines, the idea of having a child-free lifestyle is not prominent. But I mean, I don't aspire it to be. I just want people to be more accepting of the idea of the child-free lifestyle, that females have choices, and that people who want a child-free lifestyle, be whatever they decide to be. And yeah, but I think with the change of mindset and behavior of people, I believe this world is going to be a better place to live, especially for the child free community.
All right, thank you. Monique.
I'm from the same place as Daphne, so the choice to not have kids here is received badly. Everybody's just skeptical of you, like there's something wrong with you, or it's unnatural, it's weird. The country is predominantly Catholic, so here, like having a child is like having a blessing, and at the same time, the more kids you have, the more blessings you have. And also I hate to say this, I don't want to, but then a lot of people in our culture see their children as retirement plans, or like as people that would take care of them when they get old. And I don't know, like, because the reason I make that assumption is because every time I say like, no, we're not having kids, my partner and I are good, the first question they always ask is, who's gonna take care of you when you get old? So I mean, if you're asking me that question, that means that you had kids so that people would take care of you when you eventually get old. So I don't feel like I'm off the mark in that assumption.
Yeah, yeah. Tina, how about you?
Yeah, everything Monique said. So I mean, I lived, I lived 4 decades of my life in the Philippines. Yeah, culturally, like outside of the Vatican, the Philippines is the only other country that doesn't have divorce. And so, like, if early on you're not yet paired, like, it's just gonna be impossible. And like to get, like, that's why I was saying, like, it's impossible to get at the time to find a partner who's also child free, you know. So like it's culturally it's totally unaccepted, because like yeah, because it's very religious, like it's your role as a woman to have kids. So like, although, you know, people will, you can say it out, you can say it and you can be child free, but like people still think that like that's super weird, or like there's something wrong with you. Like, I don't care though. So
No,
And Vivian.
you don't care.
I think living in England, it's pretty safe, pretty okay to say that you're child free. I would say that though that depend, or you know, it's accepted that you're child free. But saying that, I think it kind of depends on your age. So I'd say people older than me, you know, the older generations, they find it odd. They're a bit confused. They don't quite get it. And I think it was Monique that brought up the fact that, or no, someone else, I think maybe on the question thing, was saying about, you know, how people just don't understand like how you can like children and want to be around them, but you don't want your own. But yeah, living in the UK, you know, and I'm not religious, so I'm not around any influences that might make me feel guilty, or I don't feel judged. But I can, you know, hearing the panel and, you know, looking at some of the other people leaving questions and remarks, I can see how easy it is to be to feel judged, and I'm going to use the word punished. I think some people feel punished that, you know, they've made a choice, but society or their community isn't happy with that. But tough luck, you know,
Yeah.
your life, your choice.
yep.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having this time with us. We're going to have some closing remarks. Is there anything that you want to promote, plug, personal projects you're working on, or maybe let the audience know how they can reach out to you after the convention if they have follow-up questions for you personally?
If you want them to reach
If
out
you
to
want
you,
them to.
you're not obligated.
Yeah. Daphne, we'll start with you.
Oh, so yes, so thank you so much, Cody and Lenora, for having us, especially in the first day. Yay. And congratulations in advance.
Thank you.
So
Thanks for being here.
thank you so much. So I just want to say thank you to everyone, my co-panel as well. Maybe I just would like to share to everyone. I have this project. It's called Masulog. It's a project here in the Philippines. I mean specifically in my hometown, which is Catbalogan City, province of Samar. So it is a Facebook page, Masulog. It is a project to raise awareness, eradicate taboo on menstruation, and provide menstrual hygiene materials to all menstruators. So you can check our Facebook page, and maybe you can send us a message how to donate menstrual hygiene materials. Thank you so much, and have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Daphne. Monique, how about you?
Hello. I wasn't really gonna promote anything, but I guess like if people wanna check out my page, it's called Druid Things on Facebook and on Instagram. I haven't been very active this year because of like work life, but I talk about zero waste practices and like how to grow your own food like at home, even like, well for me because I live in the tropics, like we can grow stuff like all year round. You just have to change, you know, stuff. But I guess like if there's anyone from the Philippines tuned in, I want everybody to know that they can visit or call the Commission on Population. Well, wait, was that PopCom? If you're interested in free contraceptives, birth control materials and counseling. I have an implant, for example. It's completely free from there for those who are child free and have a uterus. And then the males get free no scalpel vasectomies, which is kind of cool.
All right.
That's it.
Okay. And Tina.
I don't really have anything to plug right now, but I guess if anybody's listening, especially from the Philippines where I'm from as well, like if you're having doubts or like, worried about your choice, like you don't have to be.
Thanks. Vivian.
So if you just Google my name, Vivian Berryman, you'll find me on Instagram and LinkedIn, and obviously my website. And one of the areas I do coach people on is supporting them in making a decision, or at least talking about openly, freely, don't I want children? Or, talking about, I want to be child free, but I just want to get the reasons sorted within myself and sort of in my head, as it were. So they, clients talk to me about that, and then they feel confident in their own dialogue when they are speaking to others. So that is an area that I coach on.
Yeah. And just real quick, if anybody wants to give like a shout out to their fellow country people in something other than English, feel free to. Vivian, if you happen to know another language, you can say something.
American, Australian.
Yeah, British English and Canadian. Well, actually, no, we actually use British English here in Canada, so never mind.
So if you want to give a quick shout out, Daphne, Monique, Tina, say what you'd like to your community.
Mabuhay.
Yeah. Salamat.
Everybody speaks English here, so.
Okay, well then that'll be good enough then. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. We got the next panel getting ready, and we'll see you guys again soon.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.